Okay. Bear with me one moment, just making sure that it's all going live where it should go. Okay, so good morning, or good afternoon I should say. Welcome back. I'm Natalie, and today we're going to do the second part of our upcycling project. So for those of you that know my channel, yesterday we did part 1 where we created our drawers to go into our little drawer unit in Affinity. So as that's a bit more computer based, that went onto my Plannercraft page. Now we get to do the fun stuff. So to break down where we got to yesterday, we did our little drawers, which again, if you want to go back and join in, you can do. So these are getting a little bit unstuck because of the heat. It's very warm in here, so I'm going to try and be as quick as possible because I'm aware that people are melting. We have 3 fun-sized little cereal boxes in here that we've joined together. So to do that, I just use some nice strong double-sided tape or double-sided roll. So I use some of the double-sided roll just to make life a little easier and quicker. Then what I've done is I've created some foam board panels for the outside. So as I'm not going to do this live on air, I thought I'd say this is a good point to grab a notepad. This is the order I did it in. First of all, I created the sides. So lay your 3 boxes down on the side, measure from your foam board offcuts. So good way to use them up for this project. Trim with a nice scalpel, light strokes, usually about 3 of, and the sharper your blade, the better you're going to get that cut edge to be. Okay, so once you've done your sides, you're going to use your double-sided adhesive, so the roll in this case, and you're going to stick them to the sides, lining up nicely along the edges of your box. Now the reason we do that is so that you have a nice stable structure to do the back next. Okay, so once you've done the back, you're going to stick that back on with double-sided tape. Then you're going to do the bottom, and again we're going to go to the outside of our shape. By this point you've got your 3 sides on, and finally you're going to do the top. Now the top I've done a bit bigger all the way around. Now if you wanted to put it this way up so that you've got that wider base, that's absolutely fine too. It just changes the look of it a little bit. You could also put a little extra bit on so that we've got a bit more of a plinth for the bottom section here. Now let's do the hellos. So Carol, you missed yesterday's stream but can't find it. Okay, so it should be on the main Plannercraft page for you to find it. It's not in the group. Hi Linda. Hi B. That's okay. Everybody needs a little bit of a breather, don't they? It's very, very warm. So let me just start with the multi-stream as well in case I missed anyone. Looks like Sharon's watching, so hi Sharon and hi Jane. And you never know, multi-stream might kick in a bit. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'll say hi Mom and just take a guess that you're there. So what I then did was I've gone around all my cut edges with masking tape. So what I've done is I've mitered my corners so that we get a nice neat finish. I've cut in around here so that we can get a nice smooth finish, and again we want to make sure that we're keeping things nice and smooth into our drawer section so our drawers slide in and out easily. I've even gone around the joins in our cereal boxes just so that there's a good lip there too. So then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cover masking tape with a bit of gesso. So this is where we're going to actually start getting a little bit messy. So let's move bits and pieces. You want to put your drawers somewhere safe and out of the way so you don't accidentally splash. And let's get a nice large brush, because a bigger brush is going to mean that we can work a little quicker. Hi Caroline. So this is where I hope my gesso hasn't seized up. There we go. And because it's warm, I just want to give it a little bit of a stir. So try and keep your paints and your inks as cool as possible. And one of the reasons that I've kind of done this like a watch and create after is that I appreciate that many people in the UK are not going to be wanting to be in their craft rooms at the moment because it's a bit warm, and even for me, I'm melting. Okay, so I'm mainly going to go over masking tape, but if it goes onto our foam board, that's fine too, because that's going to help our tissue adhere. Hi Hazel, and hi Louise. Okay, it's mainly the masking tape we want to cover, because obviously it's kind of a yellowy colour, and if you've used, for example, some washi or coloured paper tape, then you're going to want to cover that too. So typically what I do with gesso is I'll brush it on, then go back over the top just to kind of smooth it out. Don't forget to do underneath your lid, like so. Going to do down the sides. Now, when it comes to doing corners, you'll just want to make sure that you're getting all your excess gesso out there, because otherwise that can interfere with our drawers. And I am actually going inside as well, just because we don't want any accidental little bits of yellow showing in our finished project. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm keeping my layers nice and thin as well, because number one, that's going to mean it's going to dry quick, especially in this heat. It also means that when we come to put our tissue over the top, it's going to be a nice smooth surface for it to all adhere to. And you do find that with like the raised edges, you're going to go backwards and forwards, picking up the excess. So you can now see why I did so much of this as prep this morning. But I thought it was good for you to see it in its kind of raw state, so that you know roughly where you're heading. And of course I'll do the obligatory other cereals are available. Now, if you've chosen a particularly bright colour, you might find that you need to do a couple of coats just to get all that covered up. But what you're aiming for is to have it so it's not recognisable at all. The craft room is fine, but you don't want to be in the kitchen. And I'll see you later, B. Okay. Yeah, kitchen's definitely a no-go area today. Okay, so if some bits of your masking tape peel up, just push it back down and paint back over the top. Try not to leave your fingerprints in it. So again, if you can't quite cover it all in one go, don't worry, just let it dry a little and go back over it. Speed painting. Okay. As it's the back, I don't mind going a little bit quicker. Nearly there. Okay. So just give it a good check around the box. If there's any bits that are just lifting up, just push them back down. And we aren't doing too bad. And as it starts to dry, just check to see which bits kind of needed that extra coat. We're going to be using white tissue paper over the top, or you could use rice paper. So it will be a little bit more opaque than what you're seeing. But it's good to make sure you have a good base. Okay, I think I'm about happy with that. So usually what I would say is try and just let that yeah, you definitely don't want anything in withdrawals. Hi, Corinne. Yeah. Our kitchen window is shaded by a tree, but you wouldn't think so for the heat in there. You're doing 2 pan pastel tutorials, Carol. Decided to go on rogue. Okay. She has a border terrier. You're going to paint the border terrier. I do hope that they sit still long enough. Has Mr. recovered from being a superstar? No, he hasn't. He's still in quite a bit of pain, actually. Basically, what they didn't show on telly very clearly is for the second song that he did, they have to pull on like a set piece, which is like a bunch of levers, which is all very well if you're doing it slowly, but if you're doing it at speed, and at the time they were rehearsing in the car park, as you do, over an uneven surface, his set of levers got jammed, so he got stopped and the person behind him didn't stop. So he looks like he's been in the wars a bit up the backs of his legs. So that's one thing that's causing him pain. And then he was also suffering with cramp as well from the sheer amount of exercise that he did on the day, because they also did like a final run through, because that was the first time they could get into the stadium. So he was kind of pretty worn out by the end of that. So I'm just going to very quickly do a little bit of cleaning up while this is still damp. It's much easier to do it while it's still, not quite set. But all in all, he says he'd do it again, because he's mad like that. And I think they're all planning on meeting up sort of towards the end of the month, which would be nice. So he's got some friends for life out of doing it, so I would highly recommend it if you get the opportunity to just volunteer to join in. So I think the next thing is Paris in 2024 that some of them are going for. Hi Susan, hi Rianne. Okay, so with that done, I'm just going to set that to the side to dry and just check that there's no extra patches that I think I need to do. So I can pop that over on my foam board. I'm going to close my water. So for those of you that don't know, was in the opening and closing ceremony for the Commonwealth Games. Should have said that. But yeah. Had time, but a lot of work. Okay, so I'm going to use my gel plate and some tissue paper. And if you saw some of my samples that I did for the last show, I've put some up on both my page and on the PGG group. Then you'll have seen some of the backgrounds that I did, and I did a stream on it a while ago, so it might be worth just going back and just having a look for gel printing. And basically I was doing some work with the stencils, so I thought I would do something similar for today's project. So all this week the DT have been putting up inspiration for the new stamps for the Indian Summer Collection. So I'm going to be working first of all with the stencils today. Now usually I would use my brayer to kind of go over this. I'm just going to spritz a little water. Now it's quite warm today, so most of that water should start to evaporate away pretty quickly. But if you're trying to do this on a colder day, don't add so much water. I'm going to just pop my stencil on and let's see what we pull. So I have plenty of tissue paper here so that we can do lots and lots of prints, because then we can tear into them. And let's start with the first piece. Now there's two sides to tissue paper, one shiny, one matte. So if I try and get that in on camera. So one's kind of shiny, one's more matte, and it's the matte side I want to be printing onto ideally. So I'm just going to place that down, give that a good press. Now usually this is where I would say get your brayer in, but mine's gone forkies. So I still have like loads of, am I a bit off? There we go. Tell you what, let's see if I can move my camera. I was fighting with the camera before I went live trying to get it in the right place, because I'm sure it's usually a better view than what I've been getting today. But I think it's just not liking me today. So there's our first print. I'm going to take off the stencil, move my tissue along, do the next one. Now you are going to get different pull with using the tissue to what you would get with paper. Well, we've got a lovely watery print on the cardstock. We're going to have to go a little bit more subtle with our stencil. So let's see if I can get some white behind that. So if I just put my box, so you can see it's pretty soft and subtle. Try and stop the light glowing as well. See if I can use that. So again, I'm just going to mist over the top. This time let's go into the middle. So this is just going to do a little clean up. And I don't mind the fact that it's going to be going over my other prints. It's all about layering. It may be that we pull nothing, or it might be that you pull something. So this one's come off pretty clean. Now I do keep a separate gel plate for doing inky stuff as opposed to going in with the paint. So we have weathered wood in the middle, and I'm going to go in with speckled egg around the outside. I'm using inks rather than oxides. So I'm going to place my stencil back on, but I'm going to go inky side down. And again, over we go. So all the little white bits, we just want to make sure that we're pushing those into the ink and getting as much detail out of our stencil as possible. Also means that when we do our next print, then we get a nice clearer impression of our stencil. Okay, now because that's still going to be coming through a little bit wet, I won't use something like the stamp platform tool over the top. And there we go, we have another one. Peel that away, and we might just have picked up a bit of colour. So again, so we've got a little bit of our saltwater taffy from my first impression. Just coming through, so let's see if we can just get that. So I do love the stencils from this collection, to be fair. they don't seem to go very far from my desk. So this time let's do some half and half. So half saltwater taffy, and let's go just as strong with the weathered wood. And plop on our stencil. You'll notice I'm not even that worried about whether the stencil's stencil or not, because we're going to be tearing into this. So you're never going to see a full section. And I'm just going to do another mist of water over the top of my stencil. Let's see if we can get a bit more of that pink. There we go. So we've got little hints of it, but it's just like little snippets. Going to move again. So if you wanted to use this to also cover your drawers, if you didn't have any decorative paper to create your drawers, you can do that too. Just remember to make your drawers out of card that can take it. Okay, so now we've got our print from our stencil. And I'm just going to move my gel plate out of the way for a minute. Bring in my inky stencil, Mr. Water, and let's clean up our stencil a bit. Okay. So that'll do as a clean up one. There's still a bit of water on there with a bit of pigment in, so I'll do a clean up too. So again, this isn't about getting a perfect image of that stencil, it's just picking up some textures going into the background. So we've got quite a few different prints that we can play with now. Hi Joe. And I think that should be enough to at least get us started. So, gel medium. So I put a little bit of the, it's not cling film, but it's like cling film, over the top of my pot. That just makes it so that I can get in and out fairly easily. Now make sure that your brush is reasonably dry. Okay, just going to move my gel plate out of the way for a minute, because I know what will happen if I don't. We don't want gel medium on it. Okay, so let's start off with our lid, and I'm just going to go all over my gel medium. Just do a quick sweep round the edges. It's not that we want to necessarily stick it round the edges, it's just to get hold of the excess. Oh, you lost me, Rianne. That's weird. Let's tear off our first chunk. As I said, I'm not even that fussed about how neat a chunk it is. So let's pop that there. Okay, so at the moment this is matte side up, which means that when we put some gel medium over the top in a minute, it's going to react, but that's fine. Because then we can layer our stencil and print over the top. So gel medium always dries clear. So I'm just going to get a little bit on that edge there just to kind of catch that bit. And a bit underneath here, and again we'll push that down too. Now let's do this edge. So let's get that there. A little bit under this edge here, and it's going to come down this far, so may as well just do a little bit of brush there. Now we're going to brush it on that top edge, then brush it down underneath there like so. Push it right into that corner before we concentrate on this section. Now if bits start pulling up, don't panic. Get a bit more gel medium on your brush, and we're just going to go straight over the top. We've got lots more layers to put on yet, so it's not over until you're happy with it. Okay, a bit more on this edge here. And underneath there, just so you can wrap that round. And you almost use your brush like a carving knife, so you're kind of going to tear it under there with your brush, so it gets right back into the corner. Okay, now for the front bit. So the front's a little bit more awkward, because obviously we've got our draw edge there. So this is where you don't want too much bulk if you can help it. I'm going to push that down. Get your fingers in there. Okay. Now, this back bit, I'm just going to try and actually tear that out of there. So if we made our tissue damp enough, it should just kind of feather away. Feathering is good, because that means that then we can blend and hopefully not have too many lumps and bumps. It's just starting to stick in that corner there, so a bit more gel medium just to work it round. There we go. So there's our first layer. Now, as I said, I want to pull out a bit of that stencil image. Let's see which one came out really well. That one looks really good. Let's go for this section here. Now you're going to find with your tissue paper that one way will tear really nice and neatly, and the other way is going to be really rough. It's just something to bear in mind when you're trying to do this. If you tear into your image and think, oh no, I ruined it, don't panic. Just try and go around it, rescue it as much as possible, and then we can feather it in. So we've got our big arc here, so I want my kind of stencil image to kind of do a little texture down here. So let's go in with a little bit more gel medium, just down this edge. Now as you're layering this up, it's going to get tackier and tackier until it's all dry. Don't worry, it's just how it goes. So let's pop that there. Now where we've got this little tear, I'm just going to lift that up and just match it back up and put it down. Now if you're doing something distressed, you can make a big deal of the tear if you wanted to, but you don't have to. So I'm just going to press that round the detail that I actually want to keep. And I kept these bits kind of floating because we probably don't want to keep them, otherwise we're going to lose our background detail a little bit. So I'm just going to tear those out. Like so. And this bit here is going to go too. And I'm just going to follow it round. And if you end up with bits where it's back to the gesso, that's fine too. I'm just going to lift that up and just get a little bit underneath that top edge, just so I can just kind of finish it off there. So just round the edge of our top there, get a bit of glue, and I can smooth that down like so. And I can just kind of pull that away. So when you're doing this, try and keep your hands clean if you can. Have baby wipe to hand just so you can get gluey fingers gone. Okay. If there's any little bits of featheriness that we've got there, just get another bit of glue over the top. And we can use that to kind of build up that corner. So working with a foam board, you tend to find that you kind of get little divots in the actual foam anyway. So you're never going to get a perfectly smooth edge. And so far I'm happy with. So there we go. So we have our top done, and we want to do the same for our entire unit. So again, I'm going to whack on the glue. So the top's the really important one, because obviously that's where most your focus is going to be on your unit. But on your sides you can have a bit more fun. So while I'm putting in a base of tissue paper, you could also instead use some of the same pattern paper that you've used in your drawers, for instance. But also I'm thinking of adding a bit of 3D to it with some moulds and things. That I think would be really fun. So this time I've gone the shiny side of the tissue up. So that we're kind of trapping that print in there. Get most of the tissue paper away. Let's just push that up into that top corner there. And there we go. Okay, up and over. Get the bits of tissue off your finger. As I said, half the trick is staying clean. So I'll be peeling off bits of tissue later. Okay, so just take that around that edge. A little bit just under there. Now all these little pieces, if you wanted to, you could actually build back in to actually create some more texture. It's up to you how multi kind of layered you want to go. You might go, oh, on that side I need a little bit more pink, that side I need a bit more grey. So this time I'm going to use something that has less of an obvious texture, just to bring colour in. There we go. I'm just working with what's already on my piece in terms of the adhesive. Going to just pull that bit off there. Let's pop that down just into that corner there, like so. So at this point, all I'm using is kind of the dregs on the paintbrush. Now, got a bit of a loose edge there. There always has to be a little fly, doesn't there? Just go away. Not on the artwork. I shall be permanently stuck there. Thank you, Rianne. But yeah, I love using rice papers because it's like, oh, I can put a piece of that over there, and then that next piece I can put over the other side, and you don't have to keep it how it comes printed. I also like creating my own too. And you can even get some printable rice papers so that you can create them with like, maybe free digital papers you've got, or if you want to do a bit of stamping instead, you can stamp onto rice paper. Gel printing is really nice and quick, so I do like to do it on stream. Okay, and that's just perfectly sized to just go there. If we brush out from the centre as well, we should get most of the air bubbles out and the wrinkles. There we go. Can do the bottom first, because then when we wrap round the side and things, if we need to, we can just make those nice and neat. There we go. And down the sides here. Back's nice and easy because we've got solid sides all around, so we can just wrap that around there. Okay. Now for this side, as I've got this nice long piece here, I'm going to concentrate on doing that one first. So from the centre out again. And then down the edge front, just to finish that off. So we're still going to get a little bit of colour on that leading edge. And if there's any bits that you want to take out after you've did it, let it all dry. And then you can just go over with gesso with the bits that they're not happy with. Maybe apply a bit more tissue after. Okay. A bit more gel medium over the top just so that we don't see the edge quite so much. There we go. Go. Oh. Let's just sort out that bit there. once it's all dry, you can actually sand it as well if there's any bits. Not used gel medium yet. Need to try it. Yes, you do. So gel medium is fab. You can use it as a glue for your metal embellishments as well. Okay. So now we've come to the front, and you might find that now you can start to see your masking tape showing a bit more. So that's going to be the sections you kind of need to go over again. So I'm just going to pop some gel medium inside, outside, and on that edge. Now, because of the way this tears, it's easier to do it when it's up in the air. I'm just going to pop that over the edge, underneath, and then down inside, like so. Don't worry about the side bits yet, we can tear those off in a minute. You just want to make sure that it's nicely pressed down. You want to take that bit away there, around the circle. So you can see it's really quite forgiving, honestly. Just have to kind of bear with it. There we go. More gel medium, answer to everything, apply more. Because the gel medium is going to hold all those fibres together as you're layering up. There we go. And you won't be rushing. So you can take your time. If you want to do one side at a time, you can do. There we go. Get that bit around there. That can go underneath. So if there's any bits you don't like, just take them to the bottom. There we go. So what you want to do, once you've got kind of all your bits decorated, is just let that dry. One last little panel, and then I'm going to call it a day, and I will be back tomorrow to finish off the box. So you'll be able to catch that on, probably back on the Planner Craft page. 12, and hopefully, although I really don't believe this for a second, hopefully it won't be as warm as what it is now. There we go. I'm going to put a bit more texture in the side because I'm going to do some moulds, I think, to come down this side here. Look cool too. Let's see if I can get that off there. So I kind of use my brushes like a tearing edge sometimes. So you can get more of a organic, like feathery look. There we go. A bit more in terms of this bit here. Stop sticking to me. So, again, don't mind if that bit goes a bit textured. It's going to give us something to stick to then. Tear off that excess so it doesn't go over the nice back panel that we've done. I hope you can all join me tomorrow to see this all finished off. I reckon it's going to be hotter with Saturday, hotter again. Oh no. No. Mind you, I'm just grateful it wasn't this hot on Monday. Because I think otherwise I would have had a very melted and come back home. As opposed to one that was just in pain. So. And give your brush a good clean out. So I'd recommend, if you've used it for gel medium, to try and use a brush cleaner. So that could be a liquid brush cleaner, it could be a soap bar one, or if you really don't have anything to hand and you've kind of done it already, then just some liquid soap will do. At the end of the day, if you treat your paintbrushes the same as you would your hair, you won't be going too far wrong, because essentially that's what they are. Especially if you've got expensive brushes. Here's a 9-on-1, so okay. Just try and make sure I get that all out. So another good way of telling is if your kitchen towel sticks to your brush, chances are you haven't got enough out yet. So that's looking pretty good. Just double check. Rain's melting in Swansea. Yeah. I can well believe that. Okay. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope that if you don't feel like eating anything else today, you could always go and have some cereal just so you got some boxes. Have a fun day. Try and keep cool in whatever way you can find. And I will see you tomorrow. Have fun.